If you're new to nervous system regulation, I want you to know two things. Number one, it doesn't have to be complicated or take forever to learn. And number two, there are definitely some things that I, as a life coach who also teaches nervous system regulation, would urge you to avoid. Nervous system regulation can be incredible and even life-changing, but it can also be really easy to develop habits or expectations that make it harder than it really needs to be. Hey there, my name is Amy Shield. I help smart, capable women feel as confident on the inside as they look on the outside. And in today's video, I'm sharing 5 things to avoid when you're learning nervous system regulation and what you can do instead so that you can regulate more effectively, feel better sooner, and start living nervous system regulation as a lifestyle. And by the way, if you're watching the intro to this video and wondering what is nervous system regulation and why should I care and how can it help me feel more confident, since this is a channel on confidence and I am a confidence coach, I'll link some additional videos down in the description below for you to check out so you can get answers to all of those questions. Also, be sure to stick around because the third mistake on my list today is incredibly common, and it's also a product of how much of our society functions today. Once you realize what it is and why it derails nervous system regulation efforts for so many people, you'll have a whole new perspective. So stick around for that. And with that, let's dive into mistake number 1. So nervous system regulation has become quite the buzzword of late, and lots of people are hearing about it in videos, articles, or even by word of mouth from their friends. They might hear a story about something that helps someone else calm down or get themselves out of shutdown mode and decide to give that technique a try for themselves. The problem is that what works for one person's nervous system might not work well for yours. Nervous system regulation is personal, and regulation tools don't always have the same impact on each person. So if you try something that seems to work wonders for someone else, but it wasn't helpful for you at all, it can be easy to assume that you're doing it wrong or that nervous system regulation just isn't for you. And that can make you give up on nervous system regulation and miss out on all the amazing benefits that it has to offer. So mistake number 1 is copying and pasting somebody else's nervous system regulation routine onto yourself without making any tweaks or adjustments. Instead, find exercises that work for you and your body. Build your own nervous system regulation toolkit instead of copying and pasting someone else's. If a tool doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean that nervous system regulation can't work for you at all. It might mean that that particular tool just isn't a good fit for you. And that is totally okay because there are tons of tools out there that you can try. Here's a little analogy that might help you understand this and kind of wrap your mind around it. So I have arthritis in my feet and ankles, and because of that, I really can't wear high-heeled shoes for more than maybe like 10 minutes before I start feeling pretty intense pain. So instead of trying to force myself to wear heels or find a pair that works well for me, I've just adapted to what my body needs, and I've learned how to love flats. Nervous system regulation is kind of the same way. What is perfect and wonderful for somebody else's nervous system might not be the right fit for you. So avoid the mistake of trying to just adopt somebody else's version of what works and pay attention to what actually works for you. Speaking of what works for you, the second mistake is one that I see a lot. So people will sometimes find a tool that they want to try. They give it a try or give it a very brief chance, and then they give up on it. They might end up making the mistake of not giving the tool enough time or enough repetitions to actually impact their nervous system. For example, maybe they do 1 or 2 rounds of box breathing or try a grounding exercise for 30 seconds or so. They just try the tool out a little tiny bit. They don't immediately feel a dramatic difference and they decide the tool didn't work. Okay, now I know that I just said that mistake number 1 is copying and pasting a set of tools that don't really work for you. But when you do try tools, it's important that you give them enough time to actually work before you decide if they work for you or not. Maybe 3 rounds of box breathing does nothing for you, but maybe 10 rounds of box breathing is exactly what your nervous system needs. Or maybe box breathing really isn't for you, which is totally okay, but you don't know until you try long enough for the tool to have a chance to either work or not. See, your nervous system typically needs time to shift out of fight, flight, or freeze modes and back into what we call the window of tolerance. One breath, one attempt, or one quick round of trying a tool out just might not be enough to get you very far. You may not be giving your nervous system enough time and space to actually experience the benefits of that tool and make the shift back toward your window of tolerance. This is especially true if you are pretty activated in fight, flight, or freeze modes. It's kind of like declaring that aspirin doesn't work for you because your headache didn't go away as soon as you swallowed the pill. If you give up too early, you might end up walking away from a tool that could actually be really helpful for you if you gave it a little bit more of a chance. Instead, when you do try a tool out, make sure that you give it enough time and repetitions to work. Give your nervous system the time and space it needs to respond to that input. If you do that and the tool still doesn't work, then you know it's not for you. So what does it look like to actually give a tool enough time and space to work? That could be trying 10 to 15 rounds of box breathing instead of 3 to 5, or repeating a grounding exercise more than once, or intentionally slowing down instead of trying to rush through using a tool so you can get it done. It could also look like trying a tool or an exercise on more than one occasion and under different circumstances. Even if you do give a tool enough time and space to work, there's another mistake that can lead to feelings of discouragement, frustration, disappointment, or even giving up on nervous system regulation altogether. So I said earlier that mistake number 3 is largely a product of some of the patterns that we see in much of our modern society. So let's get into that right now. Mistake number 3 is expecting instant results from nervous system regulation. Some people approach nervous system regulation with an expectation that if they just find the right tool, they should feel better almost immediately and be a different version of themselves when they wake up the next day. Now, on some level, that expectation kind of makes sense, especially in light of the instant gratification that is so prevalent in our modern society. And that's the societal influence that I'm talking about. However, when you expect instant results, you can set yourself up for disappointment and even for a belief that there's something wrong with you because you didn't instantly feel better. If you expect to feel better immediately and you don't, then you can develop this belief that nervous system regulation isn't for me because it didn't work for me, when really maybe your expectations are what needs to be adjusted. In the end, that kind of thinking can create even more frustration and pressure around something that already takes time, repetition, and practice to master. Instead, give yourself time, dedication, perseverance, and compassion as you're learning how to better regulate your nervous system. Like any other aspect of personal wellness, nervous system regulation is a skill set. It's a practice that you build on continuously over time. Lasting changes in your nervous system are created through thousands of tiny decisions and acts of practicing regulation. It's kind of like going to the gym and lifting weights one time and expecting to have these amazing muscles and be in shape for the rest of your life. It just doesn't work that way. And your nervous system is just another part of your body that, again, just like exercise or adjusting what you're eating and drinking, it takes time and practice and effort for those changes to really start to make a big difference in how you feel. So instead of expecting instant results, look for progress instead. And that might look like noticing earlier when your nervous system is heading toward activation into fight, flight, or freeze modes, or practicing nervous system regulation enough that you notice you can move back to your window of tolerance more quickly, or noticing that you don't get as activated as you used to during those challenging moments. When you practice supporting yourself in those hard moments, you build self-trust. And self-trust is a big part of building your self-confidence. Navigating whatever comes up is a whole lot easier when you are able to regulate your nervous system effectively. Okay, so this fourth mistake is one that might seem logical on the surface, but it actually makes nervous system regulation way harder to learn. And by the way, before I talk about mistake number 4, if this video has been helpful to you so far, please like the video and subscribe to my channel because I love sharing insights on self-confidence, nervous system regulation, and how to actually lead yourself through everyday life. Okay, let's get into those last two mistakes that people tend to make when they are getting started with nervous system regulation. So when you're first starting out with nervous system regulation, it can be super common and even feel logical to only work on regulating when you're already activated in fight, flight, or freeze modes. The problem is that those moments of activation can actually be some of the hardest moments to learn and apply a new skill because you don't yet have access to that logical thinking part of your brain when your nervous system is activated. Now, that doesn't mean that nervous system regulation can't still be helpful in those moments. However, if you only work on regulation when your nervous system is already sounding those alarm bells in your brain and body, you're asking yourself to learn the skill in the most difficult conditions possible. It's kind of like trying to learn to swim in the deep end of the pool while it's raining. So mistake number 4 is only working on nervous system regulation when you are already in fight, flight, or freeze modes. Instead, start using and practicing with nervous system regulation tools when you feel good too. That allows you, number 1, to try out and familiarize yourself with the different tools before you need them for in the moment relief. And number 2, to learn the skill set in a time and a place where you feel safe and comfortable so that you already kind of have that mental muscle memory to draw from in those moments where you are feeling more activated toward fight, flight, or freeze modes. It's also super helpful for your nervous system to practice regulation in times of calm when you are inside that window of tolerance, because that can actually help you stay inside that window of tolerance. It's also an awesome idea to get used to reaching for those tools earlier on. When you first notice that you're starting to get amped up or starting to shut down, when your body and your brain are first sending those signals, instead of waiting until you are squarely in full-blown fight, flight, or freeze modes. Okay, so the 5th and final mistake is a big one because it's one that can cause you to miss out on opportunities to support your nervous system in ways that are truly life-changing. So when you're first getting started with nervous system regulation, or even if you've been working on it for a while, it can be really easy to focus only on those in-the-moment tools and forget to look at the broader environment and factors that your nervous system is immersed in every single day. If you are living with a packed schedule, poor sleep, not eating and drinking in ways that support your body, or chronically over or understimulated, your nervous system may be more dysregulated than you'd like, or even than you realize. In that kind of circumstance, even the best regulation tools can have a limited impact because environmental and lifestyle factors are causing a higher baseline of nervous system dysregulation. This is where people sometimes get frustrated because they're doing a little bit of nervous system regulation here and there, but they're ignoring the lifestyle patterns that may be making regulation much harder for them to achieve in the first place. Instead, be honest with yourself about how your lifestyle might be impacting your nervous system. And by the way, this is something that I've had to do and that I now regularly reassess because lifestyle and choices impact my nervous system and they impact yours. You can consider things like bedtime, what you're eating and drinking, commitments, clutter, lighting, noise, routines or lack thereof, and how much margin you have between meetings and other commitments during your day. For example, if you know that you're not getting enough sleep, try going to bed 5 minutes earlier every week. See how that's just one tiny little incremental change that over the course of 2 months, you'll be going to bed earlier than you normally do if you stick with that little tiny change. Regulation tools are important, but the environment and lifestyle that your nervous system exists and lives within also have an incredibly important impact on the well-being of your nervous system and your overall health. Okay, so to wrap up, here is a quick recap of 5 mistakes to avoid when you are learning nervous system regulation. Number 1, don't simply copy and paste nervous system regulation techniques that work for somebody else. Number 2, don't give up too early when you're trying new tools. Make sure that you do enough reps and give tools enough time to impact your nervous system. And once you've done that, determine if it's a tool that's a good fit for you or not. Number 3, don't expect instant results when you're practicing nervous system regulation. It takes time for your nervous system to respond and time for the cumulative effect of nervous system regulation as a general practice to be felt in how you're feeling and in your life overall. Number 4, don't wait until your nervous system is activated in fight, flight, or freeze modes before you practice nervous system regulation tools. And number 5, don't ignore the bigger picture of your lifestyle and environment and how they impact nervous system regulation. As a life coach who specializes in confidence, I talk about nervous system regulation because it's really hard to feel self-confident when your nervous system is dysregulated. If building self-confidence is on your to-do list, I'd highly encourage you to check out a free resource I'm offering at the time I'm recording this video. It's called 10 Things You Need to Know About Self-Confidence, and you can sign up to download it free on my website. I'll put a link to it in the description down below. Another great option to bridge the gap between nervous system regulation and self-confidence is to check out my video called Calm is a Practice, Everyday Nervous System Care for Real-World Self-Confidence. And I'll link that here on the screen and also down in the description below. That video will help you start thinking beyond the in-the-moment tools in terms of nervous system regulation and looking at how everyday regulation can support you on your journey to building lasting and sustainable self-confidence. My name is Amy Shield. I help smart, capable women feel as confident on the inside as they look on the outside. Thank you so much for checking out my video today. I hope you have an amazing day. And remember, confidence is a skill and you can build it. Bye-bye.